What's up, everybody? My name is Bobby, and with me is Chase Kinnicky. How are you?
Great.
Yeah, I kind of figured I started off with a question like that, and we'll move right past it. It is currently the 7th of November. Happy N7 Day to those of you who are celebrating.
Oh, God.
Yep.
No.
Yep. We have that
Not
going on
again.
today. Yes, another N7 is here. It is Thursday.
Did they announce anything?
Yep, they did. They announced a TV show, which they've already announced back in 2021, but it has been picked up by the writer of Fast and Furious 9, and it will be on Amazon Prime as a series. So Mass Effect, the television series, has been announced. And then they added in a special little gift to another game we will talk about later on. But they made an announcement about this announcement saying like, hey, we're kind of busy working on everything because they've shifted fully to Mass Effect, but they also have just a lot going on with Dragon Age. Today was the first big patch for that game.
Yeah.
And so they were focused more on that. But they did have that, and there's a bunch of stuff that they marked down in the BioWare shop. And I think a new statue of Shepard got announced also, like that you could purchase.
Well, I don't know if you're a big enough Mass Effect fan. I know you're a big Mass Effect fan. What does N7 mean?
N7?
Yeah, I know it's on the armor. I know that's why November 7th is the thing. But like, is it like a?
Isn't it Normandy?
Is it? I figured it was some acronym that was 9, or there was 7 in. Well, I was going to say 7 in words, and that's not the way to say that. 7 words that begin with N.
Oh, it's much dumber.
Great.
Not really dumb, but in that world, N is a designation for special forces, and 7 is the highest order. So highest level of special forces for Shepard. But yeah, today is November 7th. We are now in a post-election America. Moving on. We've definitely been through it this week here in Missouri, where Chase and I are at. We've had significant aerial flooding. We got about 12 inches of rain earlier in the week. Where I have moved to, one of the major roads is actually kind of shut down. 141 is underwater.
Yeah. You have that one road that's near you. I'm not trying to dox you or anything, but you have that one road that's like just the steepest valley I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that was just a swimming pool.
I did whatever. That one's not bad.
Really?
But that road, if you are from the Midwest, you know what you say when you see it. This is gonna be bad in the winter.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think that was the first thing I said when I got to your house.
Yeah, that's gonna be a rough road come wintertime. But yeah, it is episode 397. This is a What You've Been Playing episode of the Casual Hour. Tonight, Chase and I have a fun-filled episode full of Pokemon, Neva, metaphors, dragons that age, and slugs that are metal. All that happening on tonight's episode. I do have a question for you, though. I have a poll. We haven't done one of these for a bit. I have a hot poll for you, Chase.
I would love to hear about your hot poll, Bobby.
I think I know the answer to my hot poll, but do you prefer to play one game at a time or bounce between multiple?
Oh, I very much one game at a time.
Okay.
There's, I guess it depends on the games, because we haven't talked about it for a while, but I'm still playing that Fire Emblem Heroes.
Naturally.
And with a game like the Pokemon trading card game Pocket, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, I'm able to bounce through some of those things. I'm able to play, Drop 7 still, or Hold Down. I'm able to play some of these games, but when it comes to sit down, play a game on my Switch kind of thing, I really do prefer just to play one game at a time and focus on that, because then I don't feel like I get anything done if I spread things out too far.
There's some really good commentaries on here. Like some people were saying, it depends on the game. If I'm hooked on it at one time, I'm casually playing other stuff, but if there's one good one, I'm all in. Other people have talked about one main focus, big open world game to get lost in, and one quick fire game to get the energy level up at. So at the moment, I'm playing Starfield and Black Ops 6. The these are my two game twisters that I have going on to keep me sane. And I get that, you know, like I think that I like the idea of having one big thing that I'm working on and then like a Balatro off to the side or something.
Totally. I was thinking the same thing with Balatro. Is like that's a perfect game to just like play a little session of, but like that's not the game I'm working on right now. Or and honestly, even a much different game than Balatro, obviously, but back in the Destiny days, that was a Destiny. It was like, okay, Tuesdays, reset day, I'm playing Destiny today, but then for the rest of the week, I can go back to focusing on whatever real game I'm playing these days. But yeah, like I told you, I wanted to finish Zelda. I wanted to finish another game that we'll be talking about later tonight before I started Metaphor. And, I'd like to finish Metaphor before I move on to another game. But with the combination of games that come out sometimes and then our thing of having to play games for this podcast, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle just doing one game at a time here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Well, the community voted here, and what we're looking at right now is a 2-question poll, one at a time or bounce between multiple. One game at a time came in at 31% and at 69%. Nice. We had bounce between multiple, which I was a little shocked by because I feel, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be. Kind of the people that are gravitating towards some of these are sickos like us, but I feel generally like a cash player is going to be, one or two. But enough about that poll. Chase, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience briefly? Because I know you haven't played like maybe half hour of this so far, but Metaphor, how's it sitting with you so far in?
Yeah, I finished another game, which again we'll talk about in a second, but I had a little bit more time over the weekend and thought, all right, let's get Metaphor started. Let's get this going. I keep hearing things from all my friends. Be like, "Oh, Metaphor's so good, you're gonna love it." And I'm like, I know, just shut up and let me play it. I had one guy today from my work. He's like, "Oh man, you're gonna, you need to make sure you go to the bathrooms on idle days." And I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'll figure it out. It's fine.
Yeah. There's. You're going to get a vehicle at some point in time. I mean, I figured that would be kind of a known quantity in one of these. Yeah. There's a bathroom on it. And if you go into the bathroom on an idle day, you can
I need that +1 luck. God damn it.
you get some luck. What you do is you get rid of your waste in your life. And that's what you do. So anyway.
Sure. So I'll figure all this stuff out at some point, and things will probably click into place and make more sense as I spend more than 30 minutes on this game.
Yeah.
But yes, I did get started with Metaphor, and so far so good. I like the voice acting that's in it. I like the look. I actually really dig the menus.
Oh my God.
I know that some people are, feel like maybe Atlas has gone too far with Persona 5
they didn't go far
and
enough
this.
In this one.
I like it. I dig the design.
Did you which version did you get, by the way, of the game? Standard
ass, regular ass version.
I didn't realize what I was doing when I played it. So I got the one that came with some of the extra content, and a lot of those are the school uniforms from the other Persona games. But I was playing it with, goddamn, I can't remember the name of the school from Persona 5, but I had that outfit on when I wasn't in my armor. But what I didn't realize was it's like all the Persona 5 battle music and post-battle music, which it had a very like Knight's Tale vibe when I was playing the game, because it was like this modern, really fucking good pop music with like this fantasy setting, and it reminded me a little bit of that. But I was going to say, I know that you've talked on some of our old The Sounds of Video Game music episodes about Persona songs, and you can get those if you have that version.
Yeah, but I also want to open my heart to the potential that maybe Metaphor's music is really good. So that I don't often switch to alternate soundtracks like that, but it is cool for the fans out there who like that stuff. So yeah, I haven't even really done a battle yet. There's that very first part where you run through a desert,
and
Yeah, like I swung a sword at a hyena and it said you did no damage, and then it hit me for a lot of damage, and I went, oh, I'm supposed to run from all these, aren't I? So that
Pull your left trigger when you do that.
okay.
That just tells you by a color if they're stronger.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That, like, you go into the fairy vision,
Mm-hmm.
the Batman vision, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. So I got to the big city. That's where I am right now. You first got to the big city. I'm about to, go on my mission and infiltrate a military. But yeah, I think there's some intriguing stuff that I've seen so far of where the story might be going. I do hear the story might be a little stupid, but I'm okay with things being a little stupid. I don't mind.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear like when you actually start to get into the job system and you start to really play off that. I think when you get the loop going, and you and I have talked about this off pod, but for the uninitiated, if you're signing up for a very long experience first and foremost, but this it's not like you're not doing cool shit, but the game really kind of keeps you on a predetermined path for about 6 hours, 7 hours, depending on how you play it. And then it just says like, all right, cool, go do your social links, go plan your days out. Chat, we have that turned off right now for the recording, because in the event that or the chat's asking about some of our Twitch rewards, we turn those off when we're recording the podcast, because we use this as a backup audio source in the event that I fuck up, which happens often, the audio recording. So I see it and I appreciate it. I wish we had it for you, but
They'll be back on Mondays and Fridays for sure.
Mondays and Fridays, you can say, "Oh, you're totally good. It's not your fault. We don't have a thing posted on there. I probably should." So that was Chase's first dabble of Metaphor Refantazio. I'm trying to play that alongside the other games I got going on right now, and
How much time do you think you have in it at this point?
Can you hold? And I will not lie to you. I'll just tell you what I got going on here with it.
Okay, I would love for you not to lie to me.
I've got 22 and a half hours into Metaphor.
Okay.
So
not bad.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And I don't care if anybody judges me for this. I have I just been using like conversation guides to max those bonds with folks as I'm talking to them.
Yeah, I think that's fine. There's so many choices. Thinking to Persona game stuff, there's so many choices that can just, I wouldn't say screw you exactly, but like just get you to a point of, this is like a 100-hour video game, and you don't want to like mess up on a few of these choices and miss out on some content and feel like, do I have to play the whole 100-hour game again? Because you and I are not going to do that. Like, it doesn't matter how much we enjoy this video game. We're not going to play this more than once.
I've gotten tempted on Persona 5 to go to Royal.
I've thought about Royal too. I want to see Kasumi and what's going on there. But I think what I've learned now is just I'm just never going to play the first Persona game that comes out. I'm just going to wait for the next content.
Yep.
Unless they assure me that, hey, we're not going to do it that way anymore. Which I think they kind of have said they're not going to do it that way anymore.
Yeah, I did see somebody say, I hope that they don't Persona too much into Metaphor with like a de facto version or a built out version. Yeah. But Chase, another game that you and I have talked a lot about that we wanted to get to before the end of the year, and I haven't even played this yet. I have it downloaded. You have beaten Neva.
Yes, we've been saying it wrong forever, or I've been saying it wrong forever. I think
it's Neva, correct?
It is Neva. Yes.
Okay, and that's the name of the dog in the game, correct?
Yeah, wolf, dog, Princess Mononoke beast kind of thing going on.
Before you get too far into the weeds on that one, Neva, for those who don't know, this is put out by Nomada Studios. This will set you back $20. I think it's on just about everything. It's the same people that made Gris. Jason, from that, take it away.
Yeah, which I also think we're mispronouncing. I think it's supposed to just be Gris, but
oh yeah, because isn't it the French word for grief? Is that what that is?
I think so.
I'll look that up too.
We'll call it. Hey, we're Midwestern boys. We call things by however we call them. I love Gris, whatever. It was one of my favorite experiences when it came out, and I had an absolute blast with it, and I took a ton of screenshots, and it was just a really affecting game for me. Neva, if I hadn't played Gris, I would probably say these same things about, but I have played Gris, and this is kind of just Gris again, which is not to say that it's bad. I think it's an excellent experience. I enjoyed it from top to bottom. It's just that it didn't hit me in the same way that Gris did, because Gris hit me fresh, and this one, it's playing on similar themes. The most interesting thing that they've added is that there is kind of a second character that's always with you, and that is Neva. Neva is the dog wolf
Got it.
beast thing. And you play as a woman who, when the game starts, you're kind of taking care of your companion with this big wolf, and this kind of blackness comes over the land and attacks your big wolf friend and kills your big wolf friend. And your big wolf friend had a smaller wolf friend, and that is Neva. So the game goes through 4 chapters, through 4 different seasons, and as the seasons go, Neva gets bigger. And it is kind of cool how that changes the gameplay from chapter to chapter, where in the first chapter it's summer, and you have this little puppy, and it doesn't, it's not very confident in some of the jumps, so you have to kind of kite it around in some ways, or encourage it, and get it to make that leap. And then you see that it kind of starts to learn over the course of the game. But you can have it do, you can't really have it do much when it's a puppy. It just kind of follows around, and if enemies come out, it goes and hides while you fight the enemies. And then you get to fall, and by fall, okay, now it's kind of a teenage pup. It's big enough where it can take care of itself. It can make jumps. It kind of has this double jump thing where it blinks out, and it's really cool how it just kind of is able to keep up with you, or even sometimes go ahead of you, and you have to kind of catch up to it, because it's kind of learning how its body works and what it can do. And then it starts to be useful in combat. You have the ability to call Neva and sick it on enemies and hold them down while you come over and slash them with your sword. And it's really cool how you see the moveset kind of grow.
Can I
the further
ask that on that really quick, because I think that's a pretty noteworthy point here. This seems, from what I've looked at, to have more combat than what Gris did. Is that fair?
Yes, absolutely.
Because Gris was pretty, pretty much like platforming only.
Yeah, I mean, there was certainly like an enemy that you were kind of facing off against, but it wasn't so formally, I am attacking this thing. Whereas in this game, absolutely, like there's a blackness that's out there, and you have a sword, and you have like a 3/ combo, and you have a health bar in here that you can turn off if you want to. You can just turn it off. And at some point I did, just because I was like, I think the combat in here is kind of good, and I like the pattern recognition, but I also just want to finish the game. And I'm not looking for like a challenge here. I'm looking to experience the story. So I ended up switching it off at some point, but I did actually really like the combat when I was engaging with it. And even after, going into basically what is a god mode, I was still, wanting to do the dodges and avoiding attacks, and still get the slashes in and try to play it straight, even though I knew I wasn't taking damage anymore.
I did find out Gris means gray in French, and that ties into the color of Gris, where it starts basically colorless, which is cool. And then Jedi in chat was asking, and maybe you can confirm this if it doesn't give away any plots here, is this a sequel or kind of its own thing?
I don't see any real connective tissue here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. But back to the point that I was making earlier is like I really like the way that it continues to build, and like as the game goes further, Neva gets bigger. You start riding Neva around, which changes the way you navigate
like
some stuff.
For the dog big?
Not quite that big. Like maybe like at the end, if. Not that you've seen an anime, but if you've seen Princess Mononoke, that is absolutely where they are pulling from.
I've seen stuff on Netflix. I'm versed.
It's a big white wolf. Yes. I think it's cool. I think people should try it. And if you haven't played Gris, probably play Gris instead. But they're both very good.
I think that you can probably buy them both together too. Was there a bundle?
Almost assuredly, but
yep, $30 on Steam.
I think Gris was just something that really hit me, and Neva hit me as well. But it's just it's touching on a lot of the same things, man, from an emotional standpoint.
I remember this. I mean, we were fucking cramming because Gris came out December 13th, 2018. That was like maybe a week before we recorded, if that. I don't even think it was a week before Game of the Year. And I think
but Gris is also like a 3-hour game.
That's what I'm saying though. Like we fit that in as like a very.
It's an easy one to cram.
Yes, totally.
And this one is too. I would say it's probably only about 5 hours.
Great.
I did it over 2 sessions, but I think you could easily do it over one if you really wanted to. I do think there is still some good, interesting platforming in here. I wouldn't call it really. There's some stuff that like is kind of approaching a puzzle, but not really. You're kind of just platforming through some stuff and figuring it out. But I did really like the movement in here. I think they've improved the movement a little bit from Gris, where you have a double jump and a dash, and you can use those in different kinds of combinations to navigate the world. I think there is some smart stuff that's going on there, but and also still really gorgeous. Like those guys know how to make a very pretty video game. I took many screenshots, probably not as many as Gris, but many screenshots, and I look forward to. I'm sure you'll see some of those come December in our favorite screenshots category if we still do that. But
it's pretty remarkable looking at. I love it when a studio just comes out and like immediately just starts fucking crushing it. And they've got 2 super fucking solid games here. It sounds like. I mean, I haven't played Neva yet, but I almost assuredly will love that thing. It's just great. Like,
I think you'll love it. I think you'll doubly love it because you're not that I hate dogs or anything, but like you are a huge dog lover.
Mm-hmm.
You have dogs. You're going to have probably a more emotional connection to this one, especially because like, hey, a dog dies in like the first 15 minutes. So you're gonna. I think you're gonna feel it. I think you're gonna feel it. But
that shit sucks.
It's necessary for the story that they're telling about some death and rebirth kind of stuff, and I think it's a good game. I think people should play it.
Cool, man. So Chase, this week you've been playing, of course, Pokemon the trading card game Pocket Edition. You beat Neva and you started Metaphor. Proud of you. You're doing some good shit, and you're helping chat out here, so way to go across all fronts.
I'm doing my part.
In a really weird world, I've played Metal Slug Tactics and you haven't.
I downloaded it.
That's fair. I'm not going to speak a lot on this. I've only really tapped into it, and I'm probably not much further than what we actually saw in the demo that we played on one of the Next Fests, but I will tell you that Metal Slug Tactics is making a strong impression for me. This game came out very, very recently, just 2 days ago?
Came out on the 5th, yeah.
Yeah.
You could go vote, and then you could come back and vote with your wallet.
This is made by, is it Lakier? Is that how you say that? Lakier Studios or Lakier? Either way, this game will set you back $22.49 on Steam. It is on almost everything as well. I will call out one thing just as like, hey, be aware of this. It is verified for handhelds like the Steam Deck. It comes out on the Switch. I've been playing this mostly on my ROG Ally, and the UI is not really optimized for small screens. There's a lot of text, a lot of small text, a lot of tooltips. The mechanics of getting to those are fine. It's just small. So if you are going to play it on the Switch, maybe check it out docked, unless your eyes are working better than mine for that smaller font. But this is the first tactics game in the Metal Slug universe, to my knowledge, and it has a handful of characters that you can unlock. I feel this is, if you love Into the Breach, you will love Metal Slug Tactics, and
it does seem like that.
There are more people that you can unlock that play into that. Like there's one character that you can get that actually can make enemies attack one another. And there's all kinds of cool shit that you can build in. And that's the beauty here, is that it's not like you have to get just one faction or group or whatever, and like into the breach, you can mix up 3 different people. So you can kind of build your own dream team here on what you're looking to do. It is run based, and as you start it, it's the same thing. Like, hey, you've got this island area unlocked. You can progress through that and then get over here. When you start your run, there's divergent paths where, hey, if you go this route, you're going to get XP. If you go this route, you can get more ammunition, more gear. There are levels that look to be, I think the levels of your characters are persistent.
Okay.
But some of the other shit kind of falls apart. Like when you die, you start back over in your base, and then you go out there and do that stuff. And chat's calling it out here. I'll say it as well. The animations and sprite work here are just top notch. It looks great. It sounds great. Plays great. There's environmental stuff that you can do. It has some verticality to it. So an example being, if you are on the ground level and there's an enemy 1 or 2 spokes above where you're at, your bullet line can't hit them. So you need to either use an environmental item, or you need to find a way up there to either destroy what they're on or destroy them. And when you start the game,
yeah, it reminds me a little bit of, you know, Final Fantasy Tactics or Triangle Strategy, in that way, where it's using that kind of verticality.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that
I want to play
also
it.
on that front, the one thing that I just don't get sick of is if you are capable of, if one of your characters, whenever you select them, it'll show you where their attack, like the pattern of their attack will go. This game is built on synergies, which is really cool. And there's some stupid busted stuff that you can get. And maybe the leveling stuff is per run, now that I'm thinking about it. I apologize if I fucked that up. But if I shoot somebody and another one of my characters is lined up with them on the grid, they will attack and follow up with it. And there's some stuff that you can do where there's bonus attacks and bonus actions. Like I leveled up a character, and it was, hey, if you do this, like if somebody dies, if they kill on their turn, they get a bonus action, which is a great mechanic in these games. And you can then just really exploit that synergy at that point in time, because then it just triggers all this stuff again, which is really fucking great. But there's another one where it's like, you can end up adding some sort of like ability to them where maybe they only had a bonus attack if they did this. Well, you can add into it where it's like, hey, if they do another attack, they get a bonus move with it. And you can just really do some very broken stuff between the synergies that people have there. You can find new weapons, you can upgrade weapons, etc. It's great. I think that you're going to have a great time with this. I'm curious to hear your take on it, because I feel with Metal Slug Tactics and any other tactics game, that's more of like you're not harder on them than me, but I think you're better at them than I am. And you really go for like min-maxing how you approach it, and you like to exploit shit.
Maybe. Yes, I've played more of these kinds of games than you, so I think there is maybe more of a, like, discerning's the wrong word, but like I'm looking for more specific things
Yes.
out of these, and I'm making more like comparisons and contrasts. I'm comparing and contrasting them.
Yes.
More often than you are, just because I have a bigger group to pull from in that way. But
Totally.
yeah, I mean, everything that I've seen, watching you play it on, you know, Casual Mondays when we played a demo of it, seeing the trailers, I know this is right up my alley, and I can't wait to play it myself. I got a couple of off days from work here coming up real soon, and I plan on playing a lot of Metaphor and a lot of Metal Slug in tandem.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear how that goes for you. And the game that I've been playing the most, I know I've talked to you a little bit about it, and I've certainly been posting about it over on Threads, but I've been playing a lot of Dragon Age The Veilguard, and I'll come out and say it, this is one of my favorite games I've played this year. I'm having so much fun with it. I've got a pretty strong affinity with BioWare, minus I did not like Andromeda, and I feel like I was robbed of Anthem. Like I still really appreciated what Anthem was, but I think that there's a very interesting conversation online happening right now around Dragon Age The Veilguard, Currently, this game is sitting at a 7 out of 10 over on Steam. I know a lot of review outlets has given it pretty high scores, but it is being bombed heavily on Metacritic to the point where they've actually issued a statement that they're going to be coming and like removing certain comments and stuff on it. If you've been under a rock, there's really like a few things at play here. So this is a pretty significant change to the formula of what Dragon Age was, and I think that there are some core values still in play that you might appreciate coming from that series. I also think it's important for the listeners and those watching. I really liked Dragon Age 1 and 2. I did not like Inquisitor. I bounced off that one probably after about 7 hours of trying to like it. And I'm currently somewhere around like 17 hours, I think, on Dragon Age The Veilguard, and significantly better for me. But outside of those changes, primarily to the combat, there are some inclusive options within this game that a lot of people are calling woke garbage, and they don't appreciate it. Where in the character creation, you can do things like top scars, you can make yourself non-binary, trans. It's really great that they've made it to where anybody can feel like themselves in this role-playing game, and I think that's important. There's even a non-binary party member that you can get, and there's a little bit of storyline with it there. But people have made a conclusion on that, and they said some very hurtful and very ugly things online, and I just don't really appreciate that. I think games are for everybody, and I think everybody deserves to live the life that they want to live, and they should be supported because it doesn't hurt you. So if you feel that is not lining up with your values, I don't really care too much. But all that being said, Chase, this is a follow-up directly to some of the late DLC for Inquisitor, where you are dealing with Solus. You remember Solus, right? From Dragon Age?
No.
High elf.
So I only played Dragon Age 2 and a tiny bit of Inquisition. I didn't like Inquisition much at all. So I bounced off. I feel like I missed out not playing the first Dragon Age because that's the one everybody raves about.
I think that's the best one so far. Like I'm really liking this one though. And I do think, again, with what chat's saying here, some of the writing is not as... it doesn't hit as hard for me as like the writing that I would expect from a BioWare game, but that is more early on. I found that the deeper you get with your companions, the more candid conversation you're having with them, going and doing their quest and learning a little bit about them. It's a very similar loop that you would like. This is basically Mass Effect fantasy is what this is. That's how this play Mass Effect 2.
That's how it was always built in some ways.
Yeah. So this one is very action heavy, and I think the combat is so good. But you can have a party of 2 other people with you when you're out and about, and you're increasing your bond and relationship with them, and you can romance anybody in your party. They have 3 classes in this one, and this is where it gets a little bit different. So your base classes are mage, warrior, and rogue. And then when you hit level 20 in those classes, you can specialize into one of 3 different subclasses. I'm playing as a mage, and I'm working my way towards Spellblade, which is really fucking cool. It's a lot like a rogue meets a mage, is how I would explain it. And I have a little dagger that you can have 2 different weapons. So I have an orb and a blade, and then I have a staff, and the staff's more long range, and it gives me a little bit more protection. And the synergy stuff is so fucking cool from a comboing standpoint, because you have a primer and you have an activator, and all these work really well together, and you can upgrade them and you can slide them around. The neat thing about it is whenever you're in combat, you can hold down right bumper and then start to select different targets where each one does their own thing. Or if you have a big bad on screen, you can then say, all right, I know that this character is going to be a primer, so I'm going to hit them with a prime, and then I'm going to have somebody detonate the prime, then I'm going to come in and hit and exploit their weakness from an elemental standpoint. And it's so much fun. And it's just like the movement, the dodge system, that's great. One of the coolest things they've done, though, in my opinion, is around loot. And this is no stranger. You get a lot of shit in this game. Your character, you have headgear, chest gear, you have accessories that you can slot in. But the gear is tied to factions in a similar way that Destiny gear would be, or like weapons would be, by the manufacturer. And it's, again, the rare, uncommon, all that fun shit color coded. But let's say that you get a dupe, which you've played these games before. That's going to happen quite a bit. If you get the same thing, it automatically levels up what you have equipped. So if I have on like an uncommon, it then becomes, if I have a common, it becomes an uncommon, then rare, etc. Goes up from there. And I think that's just so fucking cool on how it's doing that. And there are legendary items that you can get that are named, and they have all kinds of fun stuff. But anytime that you get a piece of gear on, you'll see the faction icon at the top, and that plays a lot into some of the choices in this game because there's very much persistent lore and shit that happens. It shows you what the base stats are on it, and it has like one passive perk unlocked, and then it shows you, I think, 4 locked items, and it just tells you like, okay, cool, if I upgrade this, I'm going to do that. And then back at I know I kind of got off the path here, but the loop is, it's a lot more linear, and they took direct inspiration from Final Fantasy VII Remake for how the structure of these missions go. And so you go out into these open segments, and I think that's the beauty of this game, is that it feels bite-sized for being a high fantasy RPG game, where you have a base, which is, let's just call it, for those that are following along here, a lot like the Normandy. So I have the lighthouse that I'll be going back to, which has portals that take me into the crossroads, which then take me into other cities and missions. It's really cool that I can go back and forth and just open all this shit up. And you have a workbench with an NPC back at the lighthouse, and you can just upgrade your gear that way because you are picking up materials and you're picking up resources. The companions do seem really, really good when you get past that first initial like PG style dialogue. There's some depth and anger, and everybody has a lot of fucking demons. They're all carrying a big burden here. The world of Dragon Age is a heavy one. The story is that Solus from the other games is doing a ritual to basically destroy the veil, and you disrupt that, and in the process of doing so, you let 2 elf gods come through that have been blighted, and they are out rampaging, and now you have to stop this thing. And there's a lot of conviction because you came in, you tried, you thought you were going to stop this big fucking problem, and in the midst of it, you opened up a really big one, and you have this thing happen to you when you're doing this that connects you with Solus into this like spirit realm. So you do a lot of this, like, I'm going to go kind of meditate and talk to Solus and fuck around with him and tell him he's a piece of shit, but also I kind of need him right now because they're after his artifact that I have now. And BioWare is, I think it's safe to say, for me at least, they're back. And I know a lot of people were, I saw online at least, people were kind of coming to the conclusion, if this sucks, I think this is it for them. And it makes me feel like their efforts for Mass Effect will be wasted. But
yeah,
they did announce that they are not going to be adding, which is a first for them. And this is another thing people have been using to dunk on the game with, which I don't think is right, but there's no DLC. They are done with this game. They are moving all their energy and efforts over to Mass Effect. And that is kind of rare because BioWare notoriously has put out some of the best DLC for their video games in the past. Yeah. And I'm of 2 minds. Like, so far, I would want more stories because I'm really enjoying the ones I'm playing. But on the second hand, I've always been a Mass Effect guy. And I think after Andromeda, the stakes have never been higher for them to get Mass Effect right. And I certainly hope that we get to see it. And I teased this earlier, but for N7 Day, back at the Lighthouse, they added a chest in because today was their first major patch for the game. And they have, I don't know if you've seen the image that they've released for the upcoming Mass Effect game. Have you seen any of the artwork for that?
Nope.
If you get a chance, you should look it up. They've redesigned kind of the armor that whoever the protagonist is wearing. And it looks really cool. It reminds me a lot of how the Warlocks in Destiny look. And they've based an outfit that you can wear now. There's 2 outfits you can unlock. One that's more geared towards like the warrior or the rogue, and then they have one that looks like the mage, which is what I'm asking you to look up here. I think
I'm seeing it now.
Yeah, they added in armor sets to Dragon Age today, inspired by the new armor for Mass Effect coming out. So those are free. You can grab those and check them out. Big fan so far.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to discount this because it sounds like there are a lot of people out there, and you included in that, who are liking this or feel like there's reason to. Um, you mentioned people talking about writing off BioWare if this game did poorly, and I kind of feel like I'm in the camp of I already had written BioWare off because of the combination of Andromeda and Anthem, and just and I guess the Old Republic to an extent, just knowing that, man, that's not the game I wanted it to be. I didn't want an MMO. I wanted another KOTOR.
Sure.
So I guess for me, knowing I don't think I'm going to play this game in time for Game of the Year for sure, but we've had this conversation before, and I'll pull it off again. I've got this box, Bobby. This box that says Baldur's Gate 3 on it, and it is still in the shrink wrap, which I know I should have opened a long time ago, but I just haven't. As someone who is probably only going to be playing one fantasy RPG, in the next 6 months, should I be playing Dragon Age Veilguard, or is BG3 the one I need to try? I still feel like it's Baldur's Gate, right? Like that's the one that's.
I think Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the best video games ever made.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting.
But
and it's unfair to really compare the two. And I think if you're somebody who's already played Baldur's Gate 3, like everybody fucking else in the world, that it's probably about time where they can go, hey, I'm ready for another one of those. Maybe Dragon Age scratches a similar itch. But for somebody like me who hasn't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, it's
there's a few things here that I'm glad
play with Karlak.
I'm she's the best girl ever. I'm glad that you are bringing this up for a few reasons. One, I think that you need to play Baldur's Gate 3, period. But
sure,
I don't think that you're out, because they've been adding in, depending on how you play the game, of course, they've been adding in a lot of stuff for Chapter 3, which shipped unfinished. And they said that much, and I beat the game in an unfinished state. Actually, right before I ended the game, they added in some cool stuff for Karlak. But I do think that you should play that game. I don't know at this point if this game would appeal to you or any of those things. I think Metaphor is probably a game that I think you're going to enjoy more.
Yeah, when I think about like RPGs I need to play, it's for this year, it is Metaphor, and then we got Dragon Quest 3 about to come out this month. Mario and Luigi Brothership just came out today, which we both talked about. We think we're probably going to end up skipping that one.
Middling reviews
for
too.
Now. I could see that.
Yeah.
I think that's a game I will play someday. But like that one also had to go on the back burner because of all the other stuff going on. And in terms of just knowing the limited amount of time I've got left, I don't think Dragon Age is going to end up being something I play. But I kind of hate that I did bring up the comparison, because I think that's just really easy for people to do.
Nope.
But I did want to qualify, like, there's a lot of people out there who've already played Baldur's Gate 3, and it's totally fine to jump into another game that, has some similarities to it, even if they are different games at the end of the day.
I'm glad you bring it up, because I was having a conversation with a few people who are playing this game beside me. And, if you remember, this game was called something else when they first announced it.
I kind of remember that.
And they changed this game completely mid-direction. Hey, it's the Veilguard. We're going to be going this. It was going to be a multiplayer game at one point in time. I have a lot of thoughts on it. And I think, one, I have no insider knowledge whatsoever. I know that I think Jason Schreier put up something the day this game came out about like interviews he did with people who've been, because this game was being worked on forever. And they actually, like, there was a point in time where I think people thought it was going to not ship. They thought it was going to be dead. I think what you brought up from a comparison is why we have the game that we have today. I think Baldur's Gate 3 being as big as it was is, if they would have shipped basically Dragon Age in 2024 and playing off some of the same shit that they did, back in the day, I think people would have absolutely looked at it and been like, this is not Baldur's Gate 3. But they've basically made this such an action focused game now that outside of just being high fantasy or dark fantasy, outside of your companions, like, it feels a lot more contained, where Baldur's Gate felt almost like endless. Like, at any given moment, I just felt like this is an adventure like none other, that I have no idea how to even approach the mechanics of this. How does this all work together? Because I'm playing with D&D rules for the first time. And I think that it's such a confident piece, and it's such a mature piece, and just like art, like it's pure art in the best form, that BioWare and EA were probably like, there's no way we can do what these sickos did, but we can do something cool. And
right, you can respond to it in some way, instead of trying to imitate it.
And nobody's told me anything here, and this is probably just me being a fucking lizard brain idiot, but I think that's what's going on here. And
well, I mean, they'd be fools not to try to find some way to respond to Baldur's Gate 3. Like, even just I imagine game companies of all stripes, whether they're making a game similar to Baldur's Gate 3 or not, are looking at a game like Baldur's Gate 3 that is so well loved by critics and the public, and monetarily, that everybody's trying to learn some kind of lesson from that. And especially if you're making a game in a similar kind of setting with, historically a similar type of video game rule set genre, you absolutely should be taking things from that, learning from it, finding ways of either improving your game or differentiating it. So I mean, no, you don't have any prior knowledge or any insider info, but it does feel like very common sense that BioWare looks at a game like Baldur's Gate 3 and goes, how can we get in on that while also not being a ripoff of that at this point?
So I'm having just an app, like, I've been thinking about this game when I'm not playing it. I'm just having JRPGs were something I didn't spend as much time with growing up. Like, Western action RPGs is absolutely my bread and butter when it comes to these. And it's cool to be playing two fantasy games, one being a JRPG and one being a Western RPG, and going back and forth on those, because there's something about Metaphor, just on like the characters you have in your posse and how they all work together. And the same thing here. It one feels a little bit darker and more mature than the other, but I'm having a great time with it. So I'll be giving some updates on that, certainly come Game of the Year time. And right now I'm working my ass off to finish that one up and get really far into Metaphor also. Chase, we're not going to break a major story tonight. Well, I guess it's kind of a major thing. But I'm going to ask you to help me out with something. You don't know what I'm about to talk to you about.
No idea.
But perhaps you saw a few days ago that Nintendo tweeted out on the worst kept secret in gaming, the Switch 2, that it is officially going to support backwards compatibility with the Switch.
I did see that, yes.
My question for you, knowing that this is happening, I would love for you to give me the top 5 games that, if time and money were of no issue for you and you had an abundance of both, what 5 games from the Nintendo Switch library would you replay on the Switch 2, knowing that they're backwards compatible? It would have no bearing on your backlog, would have no bearing on your podcast. Time would stop and allow you to spend as much time as you'd like from all of it.
That I would replay.
That you would replay.
Is the idea that I'm replaying it because the Switch 2 makes it run better, or just that these are Switch games that I would love to play again?
Knowing that you're going to have let's just say that you're going to have a Switch 2 for 7 or 8 years, like you've had a Nintendo Switch, and you have the ability to go back into the library of what I would say is maybe one of your favorite gaming consoles of all time.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What 5 games would you play again?
Man, that's tough.
And if you could do it, do me a favor and put them in your put 1 being your top one, 5 being 5 in this case.
All right, we're gonna see if I can even come up with 5. Can I grab my Switch real quick?
Grab your Switch. This is
all right.
I gave you no rules. I'm going to talk to Jedi here.
Okay.
Jedi, I'm happy you're here. I am missing hanging out with you. I know we've all been busy. I've got moving into this new spot that you're looking at here. We've obviously had a lot of changes this year to the show with Johnny dropping off. And then this is always a weird time for Chase and I because he's got his bowling league where we have to switch from Wednesdays to Thursdays and all that fun stuff. Love you. Miss you too, man. I'm glad you're doing well. Just you being here and being happy, I hope. And that's what we want. All right. Chase has a Switch. For those of you who are listening, he's going to go through his library. Chase, is the Switch your favorite console of all time, or is that too big of a statement to make right now?
Oh, that's probably too big. I feel like there's some handheld systems like
Would you say it's top 3?
It would definitely be top 3. I feel like a 3DS is probably up there, and maybe a Game Boy Advance, just knowing the amount of games that they've got on them. Man,
this can also be. I'll tell you this much. I'm gonna help you out a little bit.
Okay.
I would love it to be games that you would. I would love it to be games that you would replay, but maybe there's a game that you never played.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
So you can even throw that in here. Like maybe that would be, you know what? It can be that. And here's what I will hold you to. If the Switch 2 comes out and you buy it, which I know you will, you will have to play these games that you've not played. I will make you play on the Switch 2.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Bobby. Okay. This is definitely not number 1, but it would be in the top 5, I imagine. Golf Story.
Absolutely. Especially
hell of a game.
Especially how Sports Story played out. Golf Story, I think is maybe, depending on the day of the week, what I would say is one of the most, it's the best game on the Switch you've never played is what I probably would tell somebody.
Yeah. And then I would say I've played it. So
as Chapel Rome would say, it's your favorite Switch enthusiast's favorite game or whatever she says. I'm your favorite artist.
I would say I'm HOTTOGO to play GOLFSTORY.
That's the title. Look for it on the look for the title.
I think that's probably too long to be the title. Let's see here. Man. Here's the other weird thing about the question you're asking is that there are a bunch of games on the Switch that are already like revisions or like already remakes or just ports from something else.
Yeah.
Like here's the easy one. Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE. Like absolutely, I would love to replay that game. I started to replay it when it finally got a Switch version, and then dropped off because I've already played that game and I know that I love it, but I've got other stuff I can do.
Yeah.
So
you would play that over like a Three Houses, you think?
I would absolutely play that over a Three Houses. Like Three Houses is fine, but there are lots of Fire Emblems I like way better than any of the ones that came out on Switch.
That's fair.
God, you're gonna hate this, but SD Gundam G Generation Genesis.
I don't hate it. I'm mad at it.
I mean,
I don't hate it.
That's my Gundam Tactics game, and I put hundreds of hours into that. And the idea that I could wipe all that clean and just play some more, sure, I'll do that. What was that? 3 games? 3 games so far. God, what do I do here? Sure. Let's just put Tears of the Kingdom on there. Maybe I should finish that goddamn video game at some point.
Can you just I don't know if I've ever asked you directly this. What is your favorite Nintendo Switch game?
God, that's such a weird question.
Is it Animal Crossing?
No. I think the longer I go not playing Animal Crossing, the less I like it.
Yeah.
Like I had a really great time with that game while I was playing
that
it.
That game got us all through a really dark time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it for that. But it also had a bunch of frustrations that That the more I think about, the more it's like, man, crafting your fucking tools all the time is such a pain in the ass. Why would they make you do that? This is so weird. I mean, this feels like a weird answer, but Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is a game that's not even out yet. It's a Wii U game that they're finally bringing to the Switch, which I've wanted them to bring to the Switch for a while. I don't even really like most of the Xenoblade games, and yet that feels like the last Wii U game that hadn't been ported over to the Switch that anyone really cared about, outside of the two Zelda games that weren't originally Wii U games anyway, that also have not been ported to the
respect on
Switch.
Zelda's name, you coward.
Those aren't Wii U games. I know they got re-releases on Wii U, but those are not Wii U games.
They cut out the grind. That is God damn it. That makes me so fucking mad that never happened.
Yeah, I know, man. God. Like I could say weird shit like, oh, the Pokemon trading card game because it's on the Nintendo Switch Online service and that game is fucking awesome. But like, that's not a Switch game. You can just play it on a Switch. I don't. Sonic Mania? I don't know. Sonic Mania is a great game.
Yeah, but that's like, you can play that.
SteamWorld Heist. I already replayed SteamWorld Heist this year.
No. I'm like, while you could play these games on a Switch too, I think I was thinking more like those are games that you do not need a Switch 2 to play. Like if Nintendo said, hey, we're not making anything else, there's places you could play those. So I'm thinking more like, it's interesting to hear you not pull up any Mario games. I'll tell you that much. That's kind of strange.
I don't think it's that strange. I think the Mario games on Switch are good, but
what about Pokemon? Any of those Pokemon games that came out?
No, not really. But I mean, it's Scarlet, Violet, Sword and Shield, the Let's Go games, and Arceus, right? And you know, Arceus is a great game, but I don't think any of those. Oh, and I'm sorry, Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond, which. I wouldn't replay those either.
Chad asked about Bayonetta. Did you play the new Bayonetta?
I've only played Bayonetta 1, and I played that on an Xbox. So
okay.
I liked it. I had a great time. I'm sure I would love Bayonetta 2 and 3 if I played them. This is a weird question to me because I feel like the Switch, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I feel like the Switch is really a great home for games that were on other consoles, and you know, now this is just a really great and accessible way to play a lot of these games. You know, I played through Doom all the way this year for the first time on a Nintendo Switch, and there's the joke that you could play Doom on anything, but for whatever reason I just enjoyed playing it on the Switch. You know, having a lot of these Super Robot Wars games that, you know, were on PlayStation, but they also came to Switch in some form or fashion. I like playing those. There's a bunch of games that got ported to Switch generation that it just feels like a home for a lot of games. Whereas when I'm talking about like brand new video games that came out on the Switch, you know, there's certainly some that I'm excited about that I liked at the time, but I really do think that main pull of the Switch for me is that it is such a home for all of these games from gaming history that I've really cared about.
What about I had to pull it up here, Super Smash Brothers?
Sure. Yeah. But if am I playing that alone? Because that becomes a lot less fun to play alone.
That's true.
Same for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A fantastic game, but am I playing? You know, if I'm replaying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, what the fuck does that mean? It's you know, it's a different experience when you're playing some of these games alone.
I'm trying to see here. Like, I mean, like you bring up a really solid point. Like the Switch really became kind of what the PSP was when it came to indie games, for sure.
Yeah, like basically every Final Fantasy is on the Switch now in some way, and this would be a great opportunity for me to go back. This desert island idea that you're talking about here, it sounds like a great idea to play the original Final Fantasy VII again, or Final Fantasy VIII for the first time, or Final Fantasy X for the first time. I could do these things on a Nintendo Switch, and I just, I haven't found the time for that. And if I could suspend time and say, yeah, let's go play a bunch of these games, I would. The Persona 3 game, the remake one that came out earlier this year, I'd love to go back and play
for sure
that. I just, time, man, time is hard. Hades, there's a good game. Hades is a great game. Is the Switch necessarily the home for it? Maybe not really. It came out on a lot of stuff, but I could see myself replaying all of Hades again if I had infinite time.
This game has a 96. I don't know if I've ever. The house in Fata Morgana, Dreams of the Revenants edition.
I think it's Faith and Morgana. I don't know.
Anyway,
You should play. Actually, here's one. But I need to wipe my entire mind of it. And I told you multiple times over this week and last that you need to play this game. Is the Return of the Obra Dinn. Just wipe. Give me the Men in Black mind wipe and let me play that game from the very beginning without any prior knowledge of it. Fuck yeah, man, that'd be great.
The one thing I think that is interesting here also, on top of the back compat, they also say that the Nintendo Switch Online will be available on the successor. So I think the curated kind of like Nintendo Switch Online libraries that are out there now will probably be on the Switch too. And I hope that's a smooth transition. It seems like they're really being thoughtful about this, and just show us the damn thing, tell us what it'll do, and let us go from there. But that is going to do it for us. Again, to give you a rundown of what we talked about tonight, we talked about In 7 Day, Celebrate If You Wish, Neva, Metaphor Refantazio, Dragon Age The Veilguard, and Metal Slug Tactics. And then, of course, we gave Chase a little platform to talk about some of the Switch fondness there.
That was a scary question. I didn't like that question.
I apologize. But this week we've had a fun week so far. We did some demos and chill. We got to check out some of those Steam Next Fest extended ones. It was a lot of fun. Did you have a good time playing those?
I didn't play any of them.
Well, you were there with me.
Yeah, I watched you play them. It was fun to watch you play them.
We had a good time. We got to go through some of those. We did our episode 397 tonight. Tomorrow, I think I should be able to go live. Probably going to just fire up the old card shop and see what's happening there. Chase and I are talking about Fridays. I have an idea how I'm going to approach Fridays moving forward, and I don't know if I'll do that in this year or not, just kind of given where we're at with time of the year and what's left ahead. But I think kicking off next year, I'm going to move Fridays to a Friday morning stream, and we'll talk more about that. Because I am off work on Fridays, and that would allow me to have a little bit, maybe a longer stream on Fridays, maybe like not just beholden to an hour because it's late at night. So that's what we've got going on, what's around the corner. You can follow along with all of our fun stuff right there in chat. As I mentioned, we run polls mostly on my personal Threads account, but we usually retweet them with the show account over on Threads. But we have stopped posting on Twitter, and you can find our show on Blue Sky and Threads if you want to hang out with us, and also Instagram from time to time too. So that's what we got going on. Chase, what do you got going on?
Yeah, still got the YouTube channel going, Chasey K Plays. Go check that out. I've been playing the Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color, but with a little twist. I've been playing a ROM hack version that adds in the Pokemon Neo Genesis expansion, and that has been a lot of fun. It's a series I call I'm Just a Bill, and episode 3 of that came out this week, so definitely go check that out. That has been a lot of fun to experience a game that I love with new cards that I've never seen before, or have seen but definitely not with the knowledge that I have of something like the base set.
If you're listening, you can find that link in the show notes to Chase's link tree, and you can find his YouTube page there.
And another link I'm sure you'll be able to find there is the other podcast I do with our good friend of the show, Pierce Corshane. It's called Pilot Program. Pierce and I watch the first episodes of every television show ever made. Our episode on Faulty Towers is up. If you want to go listen to that, that was a fun episode. And then Pierce and I recorded a new episode just earlier this week, and that'll be coming out probably this weekend, maybe early next weekend, depends on what's going on. But that is on one of my top 5 television shows of all time, You're the Worst, which is a show that Pierce had never seen, and it was cool to get his takes on a show.
Did he like it?
No, he did not. I think he liked it enough, but he also had a lot of issues with it. That is
how the pilot program crashed.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough one, but I think we had a good conversation about it, and I'm still looking forward to that episode coming out.
Now you know how it feels to have a good friend not like anything you like.
I've already experienced that.
Right on, man.
And then we announced it on the episode, which hasn't come out yet, but I'm just going to announce it now because I think it's fun. The next episode of Pilot Program is going to be on Monday Night Football. Cool. We're going back and watching the very first broadcast of Monday Night Football from 1970, and I'm not even really sure what our episode is going to be like, but I bet it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be weird. It'll be good. I like it.
Right on. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out. We had some friends swing by chat tonight, and if you're listening to this, come watch us do it live sometime. We have a good time with it, and you can see all the little behind the scenes stuff. Chase, have a great weekend. Keep your head up high. I know there's a lot going on right now. Play a fun game, and